Welcome to Pre-Technical Mathematics. This video lecture is on division of binomials, trinomials, and multinomials. Chapter 2, Section 3. Here's our first problem. We're going to take y to the 8th, and divide it by y to the 6th. Now, that actually looks like this, a division problem. Now, the rules say when you're dividing exponents, you subtract them. I'm going to change this just a little bit in a future problem. So we're going to say y8 minus 6 equals y to the 2nd. So far so good? Okay. Let's get a little more complicated. Here's a good one. Okay, we first need to take the constant 105 and divide it by negative 15. That should be about negative 7. Okay. Now here we have B3 and B2. You're supposed to take 3 and subtract 2. If you just think of this as putting the exponent where the most is, it's the same thing. So we have 2 here, 2 here, we have 1 left. B. We have y to the first, and y to the first cancels each other out. We have w to the 2nd and w to the 1. We can make that a w1. So we simply write that as negative 7bw. Again, what I'm doing is just canceling out and putting what's left next to the variable. Let's try another one. Okay, we have 9 and negative 15. I think we can simplify that as 3 over negative 5. Well, it doesn't matter where we put that negative sign, whether we put it in the bottom or the top. We're used to seeing it in the top, so that's where we'll put it. Now, we have n1 here and n3. Normally, you would say n1 minus 3, then you're going to end up with a negative 2, and then you're going to have to change that to the bottom. So that's why I kind of term this as can't simplify them, cancel them out. So here we have n to the 1. We're going to cancel that out and make that a 2. So now we know it remains in the bottom as n2. Now we have P3 here and P2 here. We'll simplify, and the P goes up here. So by simplifying, you have the variables in the right place that they go at the end. You don't have to do any switching around. Okay, let's keep going. Good. Alright, here's another one. Now, what I want you to notice is that this is a binomial divided by a monomial. This is one term, a monomial. when you have a binomial or a trinomial or whatever divided by a monomial, you simply divide that into each term. It becomes a little more complicated when we're dividing by a binomial, and we'll see how that works out. Let's do this one first. Okay, so we have 42y to the 7th. Let's rewrite this so that you see each setup. Okay? Now, eventually, you'll be able to just simplify and not have to write out both steps. But for now, let's do that. So we have 42 divided by 6 is 7. We have 4 here, 7 here, that changes that to third. So we have y to the third minus 24 divided by 6 is 4. We have 5 here and 4 here. We'll make that a 1. And we simply put down y. Okay, so in dividing by a monomial, divide it into each term. Here we go. Okay, let's try this a little bit easier. 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. We have 2 a's here and 1 a here. That would change that to a. We have 2 b's here and 1 b here. That would change that to b. And we have 1 c here and 1 c here. That would cancel it out. Now we have to do the same thing. 4 divided by negative 4 is negative. We have 1a here and 1a here. That would cancel each other out. We have 1b here and 1b here. That would cancel each other out. We have 2 c's and 1 c. That would simplify to 1. So this second term actually becomes just negative c. Alright, how about you try a couple? I think I've got a couple here for you. We'll start off easy. Stop or pause the video, try the problem, and check your answers in the course information. Here's the second one. Try simplifying your variables like I showed you. Here's the third one. Now remember that this is a monomial and you divide that into each term. Alright, now this is a little bit different. This is a trinomial, right? And this is a binomial. there are two terms. So I have to divide this whole thing by two terms, not just x and then this becomes x1 and this becomes 0. No, I have to divide x squared by x plus 4. So hopefully you remember your long division skills from a long time ago. I'll try and remind you of them. What we're trying to do is, remember, we multiply something up here times this to get this. So what do we need to multiply x by in order to get x squared? X. Now I'm going to specifically put that above x here. So this is my single term, this is also a single term. Now multiply it, and you have to remember to multiply it by both terms. So x times x is x squared, and x times 4 is 4x. Okay, remember when we do this, we need to subtract the second line. So I put parentheses around it so that I remember to change the signs inside the parentheses. So we have x squared minus x squared, cancels each other out. We have x minus 4x becomes negative 3x. Now remember, bring down your next term. Alright, now you do the same thing. What times x gives us negative 3x? Negative 3, right? So again, I'm going to strategically locate that above the number. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x, and negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Long division says subtract the second line, and we end up with 0. So you see, the answer now is very different. It has an addition and subtraction in the middle of it because we're dividing by a binomial. Now in most cases, students will see this and they won't recognize that it's a binomial, and they'll try and divide it in. So try and remember that when it's divided by a monomial, you divide it into each term. When it's divided by a binomial, you do long division. That's really working some of our old skills, isn't it? Alright, I'm going to let you try one. If you didn't quite catch it, replay the video. Here's yours. Now remember, you're looking for what times x equals x squared, and you're going to line it up under the x. Stop the video and try it. Okay, here we have a different problem. We have x divided in x to the third. Well, we've got a couple of missing spaces in here, and we cannot forget about them. We have to put them in. So what we're going to do is go across and line them up. So what do we need to multiply x by in order to get x to the third? X squared. So I'll put our x squared here, and what we're going to do is bring that down as 0 x squared. So we have a placeholder for our x squared. Okay, now x squared, let's see, I apologize, didn't want to do that. Let's leave our x squared here. X squared, I'm jumping ahead of myself, is x to the third. X squared times y. X squared y. So the one we needed in line here was 0 x squared y. We'll get to that x cubed. Okay, we subtract the second line, and I've kind of made a little mess here. But we've got minus x squared y plus 0 x squared y gives us a minus x squared y. Okay, now what do we need to multiply x by in order to get x squared y? Negative xy. So put negative xy. This is a little more complicated. So we'll put here plus 0 xy. We're filling in those blanks as we go. Okay, so negative xy times x, negative x squared y, and negative x times y is negative x y squared. It should be a y squared. We subtract our second line, and we get x y squared. What do we need to multiply x by to get xy squared? Should be y squared. See, we need a positive y squared. X times y squared is x y squared. Y squared times y is y to the third. We can bring this down. And we end up with 0. So you see, we let our second term determine what our placeholders were. It's a little bit confusing, but as long as you remember to take the term and multiply it by both, it'll come out where you need to. I'm going to give you one to try. Okay. There's a lot of things in between a squared and b squared. You'll end up with an AB mixture in between here. Try it. Okay, this one's going to take us some time. can see that, right? All right, we'll start it off. What times 2x equals 2x squared? That would be x. I'm going to place that over the x. So I have 2x squared, 3xy, and x times negative 5 is negative 5x. Now notice I did not have a y squared term. I want to line this up. Negative 5x. So I just leave this blank. Okay, so I have negative 4xy minus 6y squared. Bring that down. And this would be plus 5, so that would be plus 6x. And let's bring the next one down. Plus 19y. Okay, I'm still going. 2x into 4xy. Well, I know I need a y, and I need a negative 2. So we'll put that above the y. Negative 2y would give me negative 4xy. Now let's see how it falls. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6y squared. Negative 2y times 5 is 10y. I don't have an x factor, but I skip to the y. Subtract that line. That cancels these out. This becomes a plus. That cancels these out. I have to bring down my 6x. And negative 10 and 19 is plus 9. And I bring down my negative 15. I do the same thing. What times 2x equals 6x? That should be a 3. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 3y is 9y. And 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. If I subtract that second line, I end up with 0. So sometimes when you multiply this through and you don't have a factor for this, just bring it down. Term this as 0y squared and just bring it down, because you'll need it the next time. All right, pretty complicated. Let's see, I think I've got one left for you to try, and then that's the end of the video.